Hey guys, I'm Lisa from theScore eSports, and you're watching the first ever episode of AFK, where we bring you the top news and highlights of the week and give you a sneak peek to what's coming up. Today, we look at the qualifying League of Legends teams for IEM Katowice, StarCraft 2 Legend Life's match-fixing scandal, and we give you an exclusive preview of our interview with CLG Stixxay. Let's start off with Dota 2, where eHome swept Evil Geniuses 3-0 in the grand finals to claim the title at the Mars TV Dota 2 League Winter 2015. This marks the first major tournament win for a Chinese team in over 250 days. Yes, we've been counting. 19-year-old StarCraft 2 pro player Lee Life Sunghyun was arrested earlier this week for his alleged association with match fixing, as reported by Korea's Kyunghyang newspaper. Although details are still unclear, it is known that the arrest is related to the match fixing scandal that took place late last year. Over in League of Legends, the final list of invited teams for IEM Katowice was announced. Joining Counter Logic Gaming, Origin, ESC Ever, and Xiaogu will be Fnatic, Royal Never Give Up, SK Telecom T1, and defending champion, Team Solo Mid. Roccat welcomed their new AD carry Tabs this week. Should Roccat be granted Riot approval, Tabs will play in their Week 4 EU LCS matches against the Unicorns of Love and Fnatic. He replaces Saphir, who had been playing with the team since the start of the spring split. Finally, making CSGO headlines was the acquisition of the ex-Titan roster by G2 eSports. The move marks the return of the human headshot machine, Scream, back to G2 following the collapse of the Titan organization. Now let's move on to the hype play of the week. It comes from the EU LCS, featuring Splice's mid laner, Senkux.
Found themselves another window of opportunity, but Songyaka goes forward as Audrey as going to help out for the additional kill. Oh! Triple into quadra kill for Senkux.
Okay, let's watch. Distortion, ulti, oof. Every LeBlanc player's dream, right there.
Moving on to highlights that aren't exactly highlights. It's the best of the worst, and it'll have you yelling, "Get wrecked." It seems like awkward handshakes are a thing in esports. Our NA LCS reporter, Sky Bui, got a taste of this firsthand. Check it out.
All right, thank you so much for the interview. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you guys.
Oh my god, can we redo that? Oh, I saw that.
You should keep that in, that's funny.
Oh my god, okay, we could keep that in.
Bye.
Bye.
Next up, we have Nick Doucette with your Fantasy Minute.
This week, the subject is all about teams. I've noticed some fantasy owners are a little bit reluctant to switch out their teams, even though you might be potentially missing out on some fantasy value out of your roster. For example, Fnatic and Team Solo Mid are among the top 4 teams in terms of ownership in the entirety of fantasy, but are average at best in terms of fantasy points per game. However, G2 eSports, Europe's #1 team, are only owned by 22.7% of all fantasy owners, even though they're 4th overall in points production. In fact, while it may seem risky to switch out your team week to week, you're actually missing out on a lot of short-term gain with minimal long-term risk. That's because the middle of the pack teams are only about 2 points per game average apart from each other, whereas their week-to-week production can vary as much as 20 points per game. Basically, unless you already have Immortals, H2K, or G2, switching out a team week to week can give you a significant boost in short-term points while not sacrificing that much in the long term. So don't be afraid to put a little bit more thought into your team selection at the start of each week. If you think the squad is going to go 2-0, that might just give you the added point boost you need to emerge victorious. I'm Nick, and that's your Fantasy Minute. Now, if you want to hear from a guy who's been putting up some good fantasy numbers, check out our interview with Stixxay after CLG took down the Renegades.
I want to talk about your playstyle. Your teammates, Aframu, was even saying that you're sort of similar to Double Lift. Is that a huge compliment to you, or what's your thought on that?
I guess it's sort of a compliment because I learned a lot from him, so I guess it's a good thing to know that I'm doing it correctly. So yeah, I guess it's a pretty good compliment.
And now your teammates even said, you looked up to him. I mean, is that true? Like, what in your eyes to Double Lift you? Like, what do you see in him?
Well, in Double Lift, I just see like a really confident person. He always thinks he's the best, which I think is a really good mentality. And he obviously wants to improve where he can. But I think just thinking that you're the best, even if you're not, is always a really good thing. So that's one thing I always took from him.
Now that wraps up our first episode of AFK. We will be back every week, so be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook. We also have some great interviews coming out of the EU and NA LCS, so be sure to check those out. And finally, you can find all our content on our app, available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. I'm Lisa, and we'll see you next week.